You know the moment. It's a Tuesday, maybe a Thursday. The day of the week doesn't matter. What matters is what's on the screen in front of you. Your bank balance. And it's wrong. Not lower than expected wrong. Wrong. The kind of number that makes your throat tighten before your brain has even fully processed it. You sit there, completely still, because moving feels dangerous somehow. You scroll back through the transactions, looking for the mistake, looking for the fraud charge, looking for something that explains this. And then you find it, a string of purchases from the last 2 weeks that you remember making, but somehow didn't fully register as real until right now. The food delivery app. 3 times in 1 week. The thing you bought online at 11 p.m. that you didn't need. The subscription you forgot you resumed. And underneath all of that, the slow, grinding reality of rent, utilities, and a minimum payment that barely touched the principal. You close the app. You feel something specific. It's not just sadness. It's not just stress. It's a heavier compound emotion, part shame, part exhaustion, part a creeping suspicion that something is wrong with you. Because you had a budget. You made it. You were serious about it. For 3 weeks, maybe 4, you were disciplined. And then something snapped. Here's what I need you to understand right now. That snap wasn't a character flaw. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't proof that you just aren't good with money. That snap was scheduled. It was a predictable, almost mathematically inevitable output of a brain executing something called scarcity programming. And the system, the financial system, the marketing system, the entire architecture of modern consumer debt, already knew it was coming. It counted on it. Let's talk about exactly how this works. In 2013, a team of researchers from Harvard and Princeton published a study that fundamentally reframed what financial stress actually does to the human brain. Their finding was brutal in its simplicity. The cognitive load of living in financial scarcity, the mental weight of not having enough, reduces effective cognitive function by approximately 13 IQ points. That's roughly equivalent to functioning on a full night of lost sleep. Every single day. Let that settle. You are not making decisions from a position of clarity. You are making decisions with a brain that has already spent a significant portion of its processing power managing an invisible, relentless background threat. This is what researchers call the scarcity tunnel. When a critical resource, food, water, or in the modern world, money, drops below a certain psychological threshold, the brain doesn't just note the problem. It reorganizes around it. The tunnel narrows. Everything outside the immediate threat fades. Long-term thinking, creative problem-solving, impulse regulation, they don't disappear, but they move to the back of the queue. The brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. In a survival context, ignoring everything except the immediate threat is brilliant. You don't think about next month when a predator is in front of you right now. But here's the problem. Financial scarcity isn't a predator you can outrun in 90 seconds. It's a sustained condition. Days, weeks, months, and a brain that's been running tunnel-focused processing for that long starts to deteriorate in very specific ways. You become less able to plan, more reactive, worse at evaluating consequences, more susceptible to anything that offers immediate relief. Now enter what I call the snapback craving. Here's the mechanics. You've been in the tunnel for a while. You've been strict. You've been saying no. No to eating out. No to anything that isn't essential. Every no is a small withdrawal from a cognitive reserve that is already under pressure. This isn't willpower. Willpower is finite. Neuroscience is very clear on this. The part of the brain responsible for inhibitory control, the prefrontal cortex, fatigues. It is a biological resource, not a moral trait. And then one day the system demands relief. Not wants relief. Demands. The way your lungs demand air after you've been holding your breath. The snapback craving isn't impulsive. It's delayed. It's compressed. It's 3 months of no trying to exhale through a single evening of spending. And when it releases, it feels briefly, powerfully like oxygen. This is why budgets fail in a very specific pattern. Not gradually, not consistently. They hold, then collapse, sometimes spectacularly. And people interpret that collapse as a personal failure. It is not a personal failure. It is a pressure valve. Your brain is managing a resource crisis the only way evolution gave it permission to. The question is, who designed the environment that guarantees this cycle keeps repeating? Let's talk about something that almost nobody explains correctly. Why do people make the most financially dangerous decisions when they're already in the most financial danger? Common sense says the opposite should be true. When things are bad, you should be more careful, more conservative, more protective of what little you have left. That's logic. But that's not what happens. And there's a precise neurological reason why. When you are financially underwater, not tight, but genuinely underwater, your brain undergoes what behavioral economists call risk inversion. Your relationship with risk doesn't just change. It flips. Here's why. Prospect theory, developed by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, established something counterintuitive about human decision-making. We do not evaluate outcomes in absolute terms. We evaluate them relative to a reference point. When you're above your reference point, when things feel stable, losses feel larger than equivalent gains. You become loss-averse, conservative, protective. But when you're already below that reference point, when you're already losing, the calculus inverts. The pain of gradual continued decline becomes more intolerable than the risk of a catastrophic bet. Think about that. The slow burn of being $400 short every month. Watching your savings shrink. Making minimum payments on a balance that barely moves. That grinding, chronic pain becomes biologically intolerable. It activates the same neural pathways as physical discomfort. And a long-shot bet. Draining part of a 401k to cover a gap. Putting serious money into a volatile crypto token someone mentioned? Those don't feel reckless from inside the tunnel. They feel like the only logical move. Because from where you're standing, staying on the current path is guaranteed pain. The long shot is at least a chance at discontinuity. A chance to escape the tunnel entirely. This is not stupidity. This is not irresponsibility. This is a brain running a calculation that makes complete sense given the inputs it has. The problem is that the financial system has engineered a playing field where this psychological state is profitable. This is the part they don't put in personal finance books, because it's not flattering to the industry that publishes them. The scarcity tunnel is not a problem the financial system is trying to solve. It is a condition the financial system is actively designed to maintain and monetize. Let's be precise about this. Your cognitive overload, your snapback cravings, your inverted risk tolerance is not a side effect. It is a revenue stream. Payday loans, credit card minimum payments, frictionless one-click purchases, buy now, pay later, late-night targeted ads. None of this exists by accident. It exists because the system knows exactly what happens when your brain enters the tunnel. The system doesn't need everyone to be financially desperate. It just needs enough people cycling through scarcity tunnels on a rotating basis. Millions of people making slightly worse decisions slightly more often than they should. For their entire adult lives. The house doesn't gamble. The house plays the margin. And the margin is your cognitive overload. So what do you do with this? Motivation won't save you. Willpower won't save you. Mindset won't save you. Because those tools stop working inside the scarcity tunnel. What actually works is structural countermeasures. Rules that execute automatically. Automated savings transfers. Cooling windows before purchases. Emergency decision protocols written in calm moments. Because the most important principle is this. Your first instinct under financial pressure is the least reliable instinct you have. Not because you're weak. Because you're human. You can't out-discipline a structural trap. You out-structure it. Build the rules when you're calm. Let the rules run when you're not. That's not weakness. That's the only game plan that actually works.